Hey, ladies and gentlemen, witches and wizards, friends of all ages, thank you for joining one Nom Watch Review, where we talk about the latest film drop or an anniversary of our favorite films, why discussing the film and having our food with our favorite drinks. I'm your host, Alejandro, today, and I have a lovely crew with me today. We are talking about the films Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Okay, sorry, sorry, and the Last Crusade. But today I have a wonderful group with me today. First, I'd like to introduce Mikey. Mikey, introduce yourself, my friend, and what you're having with us today.
Hi, how's it going? I'm Mike. You can call me Mikey. I am having a water because it's very hot, and I'm finishing up some leftovers I had from when I went to the Rainforest Cafe over the weekend. Well, if you can't see it,
Ooh.
that's adventurous, right? Kind of like in a jungle, kind
Rainforest?
of adventurous.
I like it. I like it.
I
What
didn't
leftovers are
plan
they?
on doing that. It was a friend's birthday, something. So
Oh,
it was in Ontario, by the way. So that's where it was.
excellent. So, what are those leftovers? What do you have?
It was like a Cuban sandwich.
Ooh, yes, one of my favorites. Love
Yeah.
it. Love it. Right
Nice.
on, right on. Julie, introduce yourself, my friend, and what you're having with us today.
By the way, Mike, I'm gonna have to ask you later where you went to a rainforest cafe because I miss going to the rainforest cafe. Um,
Yeah.
anyway, hi, I'm Julie. I am having I try to do a little theme as I usually like to do. In honor of the Temple of Doom starting off in Shanghai, I'm having some stir fry and an egg roll.
All right, all right.
You know, some frozen stir fry that I made, so pretty decent. Anyway, and I'm having some Mela watermelon water that I've never tried before, so should be interesting. It has electrolytes and antioxidants in it. Woo! And
Electrolyte.
then water because yes, it's hot and hydration. So I always gotta do two drinks at least, usually.
Right on, nothing wrong with that. You hydrate instead of dihydrate. So by all means, I have to go ahead and snag a bottle of water here pretty soon.
I
Uh,
couldn't find any chilled monkey brains anywhere, so you know.
Darn.
I I would take
Shucks.
that right now. So
Goodness, man, you guys are adventurous. Jeez. And
it's
last but
chilled.
not
Anything chilled.
least, last but not least, Katie, introduce yourself, my friend, and what you're having with us today.
Hey, I'm Katie, and I am drinking lots of water.
Hey,
And
hey.
then I'm having some blackberries that are very cold. And then I made this like melted chocolate PB2 dipping scenario here,
Ooh.
just to give myself a little dessert, deconstructed dessert.
Hey, there
Nice.
you go. A little sweet and savory. I
Yeah.
like that. That's awesome. Well, I'm really unhealthy. Shameless plug, little Subway Dr. Pepper here or Coke in there. And then I got myself a Subway sandwich. So I'll try not to go ahead and make like loud noises back here too as well. So have some stuff over there in regards to not as healthy or as exciting as what you guys are having here and there. But hey, I'm telling you something to munch on while we discuss some stuff here. Now, with this, Heartless and Nom Talk redeemed Hydrate. So cue balls in the house. Hello, cue ball, and hello, Heartless. Good to see you, my friend. So if you guys go ahead, hydrate, don't hydrate. I also got this big old bottle of
Ah.
water I found up here. Look at that. I honestly don't know where this came from. Anyway, so but it was nearby, and I was like, hey, it has been opened. I love it. So don't look at me like that, producer stuff. It's fine. Hopefully, you're the only two in the apartment. So, anyway, speaking of adventures, let's get into this here. Now, we have Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Now, to be realistic here, both, I would say, plots have some extremely, I would say, heart pulling end games in both of them. It comes to it, I honestly, what's the best way to say this? When you come to the Temple of Doom, you're looking at a situation in which you're looking at, classic Indy coming into a very adventurous situation, but he comes into the whole having to be a savior along with Short Round and so forth to take care of what was saying a massive amount of local children that have pretty much been kidnapped for, I'd say, work labor. And then fast forward into going Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, you have him pursuing the actual I can't believe I'm about to forget this here. Please help me here, guys. The goblet of the let's see here. I apologize. Last Crusade. He is looking for oh, not the Goblet of Fire is actually going to be Harry Potter, but thank you very much.
The Goblet of Fire.
All right, guys. Let's see here. What goblet? It's like not the Goblet
It's the
of
cup
Life.
of
Is it
Christ.
It's like the Goblet of Life, right? Uh-oh.
It's
That sounds right. Why can't I
Okay.
remember?
Sorry, my whole
the
screen was
Holy
blanked out for a
Grail.
minute.
The Holy
Thank
Grail.
you,
Holy
Holy Grail.
Grail.
Oh my
I
goodness, I
brought it
can't
tonight.
believe.
Yeah, like
Um,
I don't know why I was looking for another
I
name for it.
couldn't figure out the wow. Honestly, funny thing is, producer Steph spoke out what I wanted to say, and I knew it wasn't right. I wanted to say the Goblet of Fire, and I was like, "It's not the Goblet of Fire. Don't say the Goblet of Fire. Say the Holy Grail." And I couldn't think about it. So, oh my god,
Yeah.
wow. Anyway, that being
Kind of.
said, but you have Indy that gets proposed to a situation where he is to find the Holy Grail. Especially because of the previous, because this employer, quote unquote, individual also hired a previous person to find the Holy Grail, and this person disappeared. This person happens to be his father. So his motivation is a dual motivation here. So honestly, having two heavy motivated situations for both Temple of Doom and I would say the Last Crusade, I'd say the kind of proper motivations here. Now, before we go in this here, I'd like to do to touch base here with you, Mikey. I would like to ask you, my friend, do you remember how old you were and when you were introduced to both the Temple of Doom and the Last Crusade?
Yeah, I was junior high, I think, when I saw Temple of Doom, or like before junior high, just a little bit before junior high, I think. And of course, much like what, 5 years older than that when I saw Last Crusade.
Heck yeah! I mean, did you have like
Yeah.
and initially with your popcorn bucket ratings going into it? Just a quick question here on the Temple of Doom. What is your popcorn bucket rating?
Temple of Doom's a 5.
5.
I really
Excellent.
enjoyed that when I saw it for the first time, and I still enjoy it today. Yeah.
And how about the Last Crusade?
Last Crusade is a 4.5. It's still, that's very good for me. I consider that a great movie. Just a little bit less fun, in my opinion, than the Temple of Doom. So.
Excellent. Right, I got you. Going into Julie, what was your popcorn bucket rating on the Temple of Doom and the Last Crusade? And do you remember how old you were and your initial reactions when you first saw the films?
Yeah, okay. So what I think I was in high school when I was first introduced. I don't remember exactly what grade, like maybe, I don't know, 10th, 11th grade, maybe. I think it was later high school, but my parents bought my brother and I the box set because I think it had just come out. It must have been like an anniversary or something. So they just thought like this is something that we should see. And we just sat down one day, my brother and I think my parents kind of came in and out of watching it with us, but and just watched all three movies, Raiders, Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade. And I remember loving all of them. I don't think I really had a favorite at the time. Now that I'm older, my favorite I think has to be Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I know we're not talking about that tonight, but
How
I just want to
dare
bring
you?
that up because that
just kidding.
right.
I'm kidding.
No, listen. No, but I had to bring that up because that has affected my ratings for the other two, because I feel like I can't rate them all the same, right? At least, I mean, personally, I feel like I don't want to rate them all the same. So I kind of have to hold them to the standards to each other. So my popcorn bucket, rating for Temple of Doom, I think I have to give it a 3.5. I really like it, but it is not my favorite out of the three. So, and there's some things when I was rewatching it that I was like, okay, I we can talk about that later, but there was definitely some reasons.
I gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah, and then I also so in the Last Crusade I'm giving a 4 out of 5 because I feel like my 5 popcorn bucket would go to Raiders, but that is my justification for my rating.
Excellent. Nothing wrong with that. Right on, right on. Katie, last but not least, my friend, in regards to the emotions initially, do you remember like how old you were around about like when seeing the films, and when you can, what would your popcorn bucket ratings would be for each of them?
Sure. So Temple of Doom came out before I was born. And Last Crusade came out about a year, almost 2 years after I was born. And so I saw them both in the early 90s. I was exposed to films very early. So I was probably 5, I'd say. And I absolutely loved both of them, just enamored with this idea of archaeology. which eventually propelled me to study what I did and get my bachelor's in, which was art history and anthropology, but with an emphasis in archaeology.
That's badass. That's cool.
And bonus, my professor was like, why do you want to do this? And, I talked about, my my inspiration. He goes, just so you know, it is just like that. You may find something, but you will get shot at. I'm like, cool. Okay.
That's great.
And he said curses are real, but that's for another Nom Talk. But my popcorn buckets for both Temple of Doom would be 4 and Last Crusade is 5. And I only give Temple of Doom less because The Last Crusade is one of my comfort films. I love that one. Sean Connery, the cast is stacked. It's great. It's amazing. It doesn't get old for me.
Right on, right on. I think I'm a little similar with you guys in this here. I flipped around some of the ratings here, and there's some reasons that I'll pick at the film, and I'll tell you guys a little later here and there. Not massive, but enough to kind of bug me here and there. So for Temple of Doom, for me, it was 4 out of 5, and for The Last Crusade, it was 3.5 out of 5. In regards to acting, and I like a little short thing, nothing was wrong with any of that. That was fantastic. But there are things with plot lines, and, acting and stuff like that, and choices that I'll go to later. But beyond that, I'm very much like all of you, and I was not born or like 11 years within the release of the second one. At that time, being VHS was still rocking it out in regards to at-home rental videos, and my parents still trusted my judgment of choosing a film by the cover of the actual VHS thing. So that's what I was, going around. And when you're looking at the covers for all 3 of the Indiana Jones series, it is holy crap. They're just visually amazing. As a kid, I was like, what the heck? And I had to ask my dad, I was like, what? Like, who's that? My dad's like, well, he explores, he adventures things. He's like a very educated man. And at that time, I like reading books. And like I said, I'm an a theater art major attempting wise. So like I said, I did nothing with regards to studies or excavations of history, but I always found history fascinating. I always passed it with an A. But it was always along the lines of like, oh, what am I going to do with it? But then I see this man going across the screen with a whip and actually wanting to take things that he discovers and puts them to museums and stuff. So I found it fascinating. So that kind of what got me into the whole thing in general. So very similar to you guys in that regard. Now, going to the next thing here, I just kind of wanted to touch base with you guys because I'm kind of curious. This is going to be kind of a little borderline moral standards here, but I find this question fascinating. You have 2 situations in both films here. In the first film of Temple of Doom, Indy and Short Round and additional, like I said, with his actual cast here. Let me go to the cast list that I actually, excellent freaking cast here. Now, in regards to the cast here, in Temple of Doom, you actually have the trio of Indiana Jones. You have Willie Scott and Short Round. On occasion, you have different people. We even have a visit from Weber very shortly. Some really great little casts here and there. However, they are in a situation in which they're put into being on a pedestal unintentionally to be the saviors of this town's lost children, and that's very heavy. And then on the other hand, you have in The Last Crusade of him having his father's hands in his literal life. Now, out of curiosity, Julie, I want to have to ask you, let's just say without getting just have a / moral gray zone, because I don't want to put anything in here. Would you rather be put in the shoes of having to choose to save a family member, whether it's a loved one or a friend, or be put in the shoes of actually having to save like a society of children?
Ooh, that's a tough question and an interesting one.
And once again, there's no wrong answer here. I don't want you to think anybody's gonna be thrown on the bus or anything. I want very clarity that there's no judgment zone here.
Okay, it's funny. My first instinct was going to be to save the children because it just I felt like that way that it's even though I still would want to obviously do my best to save them, but I wouldn't have to face them afterwards like you would a family member. But I'm changing my mind because I think that it would be a lot more pressure to save a whole society of children.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure. Like a family member, I feel like for some reason, well, it depends on the family member, right? But I feel like if it was a close family member that you loved and you cared for, like your father or whatever, I feel like the stakes are higher for you and you would fight harder. Not that you wouldn't fight hard for the children, because obviously they're children, but I'm just saying just in general, I feel like that like adrenaline pumping would be stronger for your family. You know what I mean?
I know, I totally
think,
get that perspective. No, I get
yeah,
that. I
so
get
just thinking on like that, yeah, I think I would choose to save the family member just because if I let down a whole society of children, I don't think I could live with myself.
No, I can't. No, it's a very, very fair question. And for the record, like I said, I want to ask both of you guys a question to answer myself. Preface here for anybody watching in. This is a moral gray zone. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just saying if you were in a position and you had to choose what position you're in, what position would you rather battle? Not saying that if you chose one position, the other are dead. That's not what I'm saying. It's just more along the lines of what would you rather do? Katie, I want to shift to you, my friend. In a position of this here, would you be rather one having like, and I'm saying loved ones. I understand that people growing up in life have different relationships with their fathers, mothers, loved ones, those that are in family. So I'm going to propose in the question of, would you rather save that loved one, family, friend, or member, or would you rather be responsible of being a society of children?
The real question is, do I have a mythical object to help save said person? Because this saved his dad.
Yeah, okay. Put it this way. All right, put it this way. If you had, because hypothetically speaking, the same concept, kind of, you're right. The goblet fire, not goblet fire. Oh my God, I did it again. The Holy Grail. see, what I find interesting is just the decades of transitions of nerdom and how we go through and how we make references. Because honestly, 10 years ago, I'm 37. 10 years ago, I would never dared said the Goblet of Fire. I would have all dead said the Holy Grail because it's all about Monty Python. Yeah, and now the point I am at my life where I'm at, so forgive my nerdisms here. But I apologize. Please continue, Katie. But, sorry, one side note. So hypothetically speaking, let's say, because that's a very valid question, let's say that you had both capabilities of running into some assistance of magic or, let's say, holy help of another power. Would you still rather have to dealing the possibility of failing to save that loved one or failing to save that society of children?
I'm going to save the loved one, and I'm not going to elaborate because I feel like I'm just going to dig myself in a hole.
Yeah, but, that's okay. Totally get it. Yeah. No, okay, perfect. It's okay. Okay, excellent. And Mike,
I'm just going to leave it at that.
No, it's okay. No, you're okay. And I'm gonna explain myself. So I'm gonna say, okay, it's perfectly okay. And then if you guys, for the record, after Mikey gives his answer, I give my answer, my reasoning. If you feel after that I speak up, you guys are willing to talk about it, go right ahead. It's okay. And if not, that is right up. That's why I say moral gray zone. I don't want anybody to be like, oh crap, I'm gonna be looked at and judged. Anyway, but Mikey, in a hypothetical situation, if you had to be in one of the situations and situations where equal value or assistance, would you rather have to figure out how to save that loved one or to save that society of children?
I feel like saving the loved one is a kind of no-brainer, so I'm gonna say save the children for the same reasons he said, fortune and glory.
Okay. That I don't know why I like that answer so much. Fantastic. All right. I'm gonna have to elaborate right here. I thought about this question for almost 2 weeks because this is the third attempt us doing this. For those joining us, thank you for joining us and continue to hang in with us on here. I understand we went anything from technical difficulties to weather issues to things that were going on. It was really, really crazy here. So I'm going to also get back on some notes here that we see and some comments from our room. So please remember, I'm going to touch base on that. But I, as much as my heart has been pulling towards, saving my loved one, I always think that's a biological and natural, I would say, chemical response. You're going to want to save someone that means so much to you. That is like heartfelt all day long. Now, I'm going to blame my mother on this one. We have been a session in the Cowie family with philosophy. Philosophy has been an ongoing concept in our heads that we love discussing. I'm not saying that we aren't any less human than any other individual out there. We'd want to save ourselves in self-preservation. But the question gets the whole classic scenario, the whole classic scenario of like, would you rather, if you had a train going straight down and it had to choose one area of, killing old folks home or killing newborn babies, where would you go? And people would have so many answers of where they would go. And I know it sounds really demented, right? It's just a question that it was a never-ending concept. So I figured if you do that with the Indiana Jones, it's the same thing too as well. My problem is I kind of lean towards Mikey. And mom and dad, like if you're in danger, brother, I'm going to save you. Okay, put it there, I'm going to save you. But reality, I almost want to be in a situation where I want to say the Society of Children. And I have a couple motives here on this here. One, you have so many young kids that have so much possibility of doing what they want in the future. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I feel as if me saving them would motivate in that sense. Now, that's the only thing that's leaning me towards that. I understand. I fully understand that there is a motivation to being, an idol to people, or the fact that you're helping other families be successful out there. Yeah, but for some odd reason, I'm thinking on a general future concept. But if it wasn't the general future of society of saving children, I would lean towards my family. And I say this because I think everybody, a realistic thing, I thought everybody was going to say I go for my family member, just because honestly, there's nothing wrong with caring for your loved one, and rather having to deal with a situation and feeling more attached to that than actual possibly not feeling attached to a society of people. Now, once again, that's neither, it's moral gray zone. No, it's a little iffy. So I'm sorry that threw some emotion rounds for you guys here. But next one coming into the air, I'm going to go into the comments here. Cue Ball says, I'm giving both films a 5 out of 5. Both have iconic scenes and lines. The scenes between Ford and Connery were pure perfection and gold. Heartless says, Alejandro, you're a wizard. I love you, Heartless. You're amazing. Now, speaking of this here, speaking of this, my friends here, let's go ahead and talk about the duos here. Now, once again, I hate putting the comparison here, and I'm not saying one's greater than the other. I'm just asking for a preference here. If you three had to choose, and I'll go around to each of you here, a duo that you'd rather see together again, and just imagine there's no limits. I understand something's going to happen, RIP, but if you just had to say a duo again, do you believe the duo of Indiana Jones and Short Round in Temple of Doom was preferred, or the duo of Indiana Jones and Henry Jones Sr. was preferred in The Last Crusade? Let's go on. I want to start with Mikey. Let's start with you, my friend. And do you have a preference of Temple of Doom duo or The Last Crusade duo, and why?
I'm going with Temple of Doom duo because I think Indiana Jones and Short Round, I want to see their relationship now, like what happened.
Uh-oh.
Oh, hold on a second. We have technical difficulties here. One, I'm going to wait to see if Mikey kicks back in. And two, I saw this preference here because he did talk about Short Round, so we're going to make a note on that. Katie, I'm going to bounce to you, my friend. In a preference, would you like? Did you prefer Indy and Short Round, or Indy and Henry Jones Sr.? And for the record, there was no limits onto options and stuff, and why?
I mean, both are amazing and very different duos, but I would want to see Short Round. And I think a little bit was inspired by their initial meeting at D23 a few years ago. It's like, wow, that could be something. So like that's just like my brain outside of it. But seeing how their relationship would have evolved, if they had touched on it later as a teenager or 20s or 30s, how far Short Round would have come, along with Indy too. I think that their adventures would have been incredibly interesting. Like sometimes I think about what if Short Round was with them in The Last Crusade, those types of things, and where he would have been in his life. Just those little things. I think about that because they come from such different backgrounds, but both taught each other very important life lessons. And yeah, it'd be cool to see where that ended up.
For sure. I like that. Julie, you, my friend, did you have a preference in regards to duos? Did you prefer Indy and Short Round, or Indy and Henry Jones Sr.? And if there was no limitations, and why? Sorry.
While I love Sean Connery, I think I'm also going to have to go with Indy and Short Round because I don't know, man. Short Round just like he tugs at your heartstrings, man. Like he's just so adorable, and like he definitely captured me like upon first seeing this movie. And still to this day, I think he's probably the best part of Temple of Doom in my opinion. So, and yeah, and I agree with what everyone was saying. Like I'd love to see like where he's at now. I think because like he's younger, so it'd be interesting to see like where his life goes. Whereas like Henry Sr. is already like at a point in his life where like So I think that, I definitely would choose Indy and Short Round.
Right on, right on. Honestly, I'm kind of stuck with this one here. Main reason because I mean, all three of you have hit the nail on the head in regards to my opinion on short round and indie. Their their duo, that chemistry between them is fantastic.
Yeah.
The only reason why I didn't mention the heroine in, I would say, these two films, because I believe that in the Last Crusade, there's not a proper heroine. That's kind of like, I'm not saying they're not proper. It's almost like a villain mixture compared to the first two, and a travel wise. So I do believe that she had an excellent chemistry as a third person in. But in this case here, with Indy and going into Temple Doom with Indy and Short Round, I'm like you guys. I feel as if Short Round's like the best, I would say, quips and cues and just the jokes, and
Yeah.
I still feel like there's a big connection with the concept of the Goonies. I do, coming into, he holds that adventurous childlike splendor and still makes it realistic, because he's still, in my opinion, he still was very vulnerable, and so he was
Yeah.
like he could get hurt, and I think he was great at expressing that.
Mm.
He was like a little mini badass, but still being able to actually take care of himself too as well. Now when it comes to Sean Connery and Harrison Ford, their dialogues between each other, it's hard to find another stern man on man dialogue that seems to be like grudge, 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 but history and healthy. Something was weird about it, but it was respectful in a sense. So the dialogue, it was really hard for me to lean towards Short Round them, just because the dialogue between those two, but the chemistry of Short Round and Indiana Jones, it just like hit it out the park for me, and I fully believe like that. Mikey, I'd like to continue on what you were saying though.
Where did I leave off before I got cut out?
No, you're good. Because I was going to say, just to continue on the part where I agree with you, I would love to see where actual Short Round and Indy are at this part, because you said you preferred Indy and Short Round as the duo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just feel like I think everybody said it too. Like they wanted to see how he would react to him now as an adult. I think that's interesting. It would be an interesting pairing between the two of them now. And I feel like that Indy said all he had to say to his dad already. I mean, they left everything in a good place, so I don't think there's much they could contribute much, banter after that. So I like the way it ended with Indy and his dad, and I think Short Round and Indy, there's still some more story to tell. So that's why I would pick that.
Get that right on. Heck yeah.
That's a very good reason. Yeah.
All right, so next question here for you guys here. I want to start with Julie on this one. So both films have villains and scenarios that can like make your skin crawl, right? So there's like heavy situations here, right? Now, if you had to be in either or situation, would you rather take on Temple of Doom, in which you had to deal with black magic and a priest? Or would you have to deal with the situation of, for example, I'm going to use the end scenario here because it's a little more nerve-wracking. Or would you rather deal with the 50-50 choice of choosing the Holy Grail and your father dying? Which one do you want to head on first?
Okay, well, I mean, I don't think that I would be as equipped to deal with the black magic, and I think also all of the bugs. I just, I'm pretty like, I have feelings about Willie.
Okay, hold on. Wait, well, side note here. I have a question specifically for you three about those bugs a little later, but go on, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, okay, and I'll probably talk more about this later too, but I have feelings about Willie, but like her reactions to the bugs were actually pretty relatable, because I'm pretty sure I would have been doing the same thing. And yeah, so like between the black magic and like the ripping out the hearts, and I don't think I want to deal with that. Like, listen, Germany has its own problems too, but at least like you're dealing with like people. I don't know. I think I would choose The Last Crusade. That's a hard choice though.
Okay. No, cool. No, because I mean, realistic. It makes you think. Okay, fantastic. All right. Katie, what are you going to do the question? I'm going to give this a little lighter than is your father dying, because that was a rude directing there, Julia. I apologize, my friend. But would you rather deal with a situation of dealing with black magic and just head on the possible priest, or would you like to deal with the 50-50 concepts of being forced to choose, let's say, of what could be possibly the correct grail?
I mean, it's a catch-22. It really is. I would go for the grail though. I think, and I say that knowing like what the grill was made of, it'd be like, it's, you guys, like, why would you go for the metal one? But then again, there were all the booby traps leading up to it. So like that's horrible. But still, I would rather do some mind puzzles than have to deal with stuff that I can't see. In terms of the black magic.
Yeah.
And just other cultural things that you're also not really aware of where, you know, yeah, and the culinary choices, and I don't mean to sound a
No.
certain way, but
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm with you on that one.
No, I got you.
when they split open the snake,
No.
I just thought
Yeah.
there were it's not so, I'm not trying to sound xenophobic. It was really mean. Just slicing and dicing snakes that are lying on the table.
No.
I got you.
So-
I got you.
Long story short, as you say, I'm going to pick the Goblet of Fire or the Tesseract or whatever you want, whatever you want to call it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you're cool. I love
That's
it.
funny.
All right. So, Mikey, my friend, would you, in a situational here or there, I know it's kind of similar, but would you rather deal with a priest with black magic head on, or the choice of the 50-50 with the Holy Grail and with the Goblet of Fire against the Tesseract, as you said, Katie?
I would rather deal with the priest with black magic because I'm not good at riddles or things like that. So I think just going on like just improving it against a black magic priest would be a little bit more my speed. I think because I mean you might get lucky, you might not. I mean, knowing if you're Indiana Jones, you will get lucky. So I mean, hey, why not? Let's give it a shot.
I get that. Oh my God, I love that Mikey said this because both Julie and Katie mentioned that you'd rather go with the I keep saying the Goblet of Fire. Damn, I'm gonna call it Tesseract now. But the concept deal with that. Mikey, I have to go on your side though. Here's the deal. The reason I'm saying this is I don't think I could live with doing a shitty guess on the Grail thing. I'm like, oh, here you go. He dies. I don't know. I would keel over. Now I understand I said 50-50. I probably should have better worded that because hypothetically speaking, there was like 12 goblets in that goddamn thing. So I mean, it was like a 20. Yeah, exactly. It was like 50 of them. It was just like, so it might have been like a 5% chance. The only reason why I would go with black magic is hoping I would stub my toe into victory somehow. Like, I mean, realistically speaking,
it's pure luck.
Because, yeah, exactly. I mean, all of you mentioned before, the guy's getting lowered in, like, one of the first victims is getting lowered in in an actual chasm that's shaped of a skull that's attached to nothing but metal from the black priest himself.
Lava.
Exactly. And the crazy thing about lava is, I don't know if I'm mansplaining into this, I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know if you guys know about lava, but like you don't just dive in lava like water. You actually die of shock and you burn to death on there. You don't really sink in there until like much later. In fact, sometimes you just float on the thing and you burn to death. And like, I don't, that is just, I can't, that is not something. So regardless of that, I'd still try to go ahead and BS my way into something. I guess because that way I can live with myself knowing that I'd be like, all right, cool. If I mess up, I die for black magic. If I mess up, I'm killing a family member. I mean, realistically, and I say this because I know some people, because I've asked this question to some coworkers, cough, and this is why I brought this up. And there's some people that they're like, hey, I choose the family thing. And I was like, why? They're like, well, because it happens. I was like, it happens. And I was like, okay. So I figured it was a fascinating question because I was getting some multiple answers on that. So, oh, goodness. But next question here, going into here, Julie, you mentioned this bugs. Now here's the deal, guys. In both these situations here, you're looking at swarms of insects, and other critters and so forth as well. So here's the deal. For all three of you, think about this here. If you had to, out of the three, which of you could bravely stick your hand through if there was a swarm in front of you of an object that you must press or pull? Could it be snakes/reptiles? Could it be insects? Or it could be rodents/rats and so forth? Let's go ahead and start with you, Mikey. Would you have those three? Okay.
No, go ahead. It's fine.
Okay. Out of those three, what could you actually, if you could, out of those three, prefer to stick your hand through to reach an object, and why?
I'll go with rats because I hate bugs and the snakes. I feel like could be some poisonous ones in there, and I'm not afraid of snakes, but I just don't. Uh, I don't know. I just don't trust it. So I mean, rats. Yes, if rats, they could have like diseases and stuff that could bite you and stuff. But I feel like you're less likely to die of a rat bite than a snake bite. I'm just go with that. So that's what I'll go with.
hey, if that's reason enough for you, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Julie, my friend, if out of those 3 batches of creepy crawlies, and you had a lever to press or pull or set button object in front of you, what could you do and why?
Literally anything but the bugs.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with rodents. I used to have pet rats. Like, I'm fine with that. Whatever disease they may carry, like I said, you just go get like a shot afterwards.
There
I'm
you
sure
go.
you'd be fine.
Yeah.
And I love snakes and I love reptiles. Actually, like I would love to like handle them and whatever. Yes, there might be a possibility of being poison ones, but I would hope that like I would maybe be able to know like which ones were poison or whatever. I guess but bugs, I just absolutely cannot deal with, especially swarms of them. Like, listen, I've gotten a lot more over my fear of bugs in my recent years, but like, I still can't deal with like a mass amount of them like that, especially big, gross, creepy, crawly ones like the ones in the movie, because those just, all of them gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
But like, if I had to choose between the snakes and rats, as much as I really love reptiles and snakes, I think I would choose the rat just because I agree with Mikey that like there's probably less of a chance of you dying from a rat bite. But
Now,
yeah,
mind you, it could be rats, rodents, it could be any kind of. So when I say rodents, it's not just rats. So it could be things beyond that too. Just a side note.
Still,
whatever.
right?
Possums,
Still.
I know, that's great.
Still, I think you're good.
I love both you double down. They're like, still, rats.
Yeah, listen, possums, raccoons, like they're all like furry little creatures.
Yeah.
None of them bother me. Like I don't have an issue with any of them. So like
Right on. Okay, no, excellent. Katie, you, my friend, in a situation where you'd have to deal with 3 batches of those creepy crawlies, and you had to push or pull a lever on the other side, which could you do, and what is your reasoning why?
Bugs.
Bugs? Oh,
I don't mind bugs.
Okay.
Wow.
So first, I'm going to preface by saying, what's around us right now? Are there freshly decayed bodies? Because then my answer is going to change, because those are some gnarly bugs that could be carrying a lot of
Diseases.
funny stuff with them, right? And then in which case I would pick the rats. But more often than not, I would pick the bugs. Bugs are way cleaner than we think they are. They're just little and they're weird looking, but yeah, in fact, a lot of bugs have grooming processes like bees. But if you no, I don't know if I want to do bees. I'm just a bad example. But bugs, I would do bugs for sure. I'm just not afraid of bugs.
Now, quick question for you, Katie. Have you been like this like since you were like younger, or was it something that you've kind of like grown up into? Like you're like I would say being comfortable with bugs, because that answer I would say that answer, in my opinion, would be a rarer answer than the other 2.
Mm-hmm. So I'm only afraid of one bug, and they're cicadas. I grew up in the Midwest, so I endured the 17-year cicada, and those are horrible. But I don't know. I think when I was little, people were like, "Oh, we got spiders," and I'm like, "Wait, but why are we afraid? They're in our home. Like we are in their home." And so like they just didn't. I just kind of loved them early on because I felt bad. And they've been learning that they do a lot for our environment. So
that's cool. No, that's very cool. No, because I got a couple homies that I've seen like raise spiders, and even some that I've even seen house cockroaches like inside of like an actual thing, but they're like a little society of them. And I was just fascinated how they treat them like pets. And I understand like, if one like develops and starts to learn it, which it's funny because it leads to my answer here. My thing is this. First, I could deal with reptiles because and for the record, I understand that in the rodent category, I hate calling them rodents. I think they're, something else, but I understand it's a very generic thing right now. I understand that some are rodents, some are typical, but in the rodent category, I understand that there are stuff that can give you rabies, stuff that is poisonous, stuff that lives in it. In the insect category, same thing, and so long and so forth in regards to, like I said, just insects, bugs, rats, all that stuff as well. Now, here's the deal. In my delusion head, I'm thinking of turtles and cute looking reptiles, so I could get my hand through it and be like, oh, that's cool. It's just, it's just going to be scaly, the friendly reptile. I can get my hand into it real quick. Or my head, same thing with rodents. I think, oh, it's just a hamster, or it's just a dog with wings, a puppy dog with wings. So I'm like, I'm okay to deal with this. But I lived in Hawaii for 5 years, and it was a lovely place to live. However, when I tell you I have experienced two or three personal things with insects that make you question things a little bit, I understand. Like, I typically leave spiders alone, right? And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, all right, I'm half Mexican, half Scottish. I'm very superstitious. I fully believe in don't mess with moths or ladybugs. I just kind of transition a lot of things out. I try to avoid spiders unless it's above my head and I'm sleeping and my mouth's open. That sucker's gonna die. I'm sorry. But realistically speaking, if they're out and around, in the windows, I'm like, all right, you can leave, or whatever the case. However, I ran into a centipede. Centipedes are demon seeds. They are no way in shape or form, in my opinion, nice critters. In fact, the head bites, the tail stings, they lay eggs, they stay in cold, moldy areas, and they're vicious. Now, here's the thing. I typically don't have an issue. However, when we moved there, we had a friend that when he moved there initially, his interaction with the centipede is it got up on all fours and started ringing around like a snake kind of deal. And I figured that if an insect that was supposed to be this tiny can look like a snake, I don't know. And in my head, I understand flies and spiders are much more different than a centipede. But if there's a possibility that I'm sticking my hand and there's critters in there, centipedes all over the world. Yeah. I don't want to deal with them. I try my head, I'd be like, please be a millipede, please be a millipede. But I don't know. For me, there's something about like PTSD and a centipede stuck in my dang head. And I know I shouldn't be using PTSD wrong with that, but I mean, realistically speaking, it's just I can't do it. I can't do it. So Katie, I'm impressed with the insects. Like, I have friends that like raise spiders. Like, it's really impressive. And then, like I said, it's one of those things. So, but I just can't wrap my head around it on that. But that's great answers. All right, guys. So each film received a bit of criticism, even both after doing generally well at the box office. Both these films just pretty much killed it at the end. I mean, but both films seem to get a little criticism here and there. Before we go with this next question, these are very, very helpful. Cue ball, redeemed stretch. So guys, take a moment to stretch. Oh yeah, get those tendons. God, I'm 38 and I need to stretch more. Getting up in the morning going, oh my God.
Same.
Lord. And oh man, Katie, it's like you knew. Nom Talk redeemed. Hydrate. So hydrate, don't dehydrate. Thank you, guys. I have to deal with my rambles. All right. So with that being said, I lost my phone. Here it is. All right. Now the next question I wanted to ask you guys. So each film pretty much did generally well, but they did receive a bit of criticism. So if you guys were a studio, would you rather deal with people telling you that your film was too dark / violent, like the Temple of Doom? Or would you rather have people telling you that your pacing was too slow or too expected at times, like the Last Crusade? Katie, well, you know what? Since I ended the question, I want you to think about it a little bit. Mike, I want to start with you again, my friend. As a studio, would you rather deal with the criticism of dealing with like things are being too violent or too violent at the time being for film, or would you rather just dealing with the whole pacing issues or expected concepts, just as a studio, and why? Once again, there's no wrong answers to this, just personal opinion.
I would rather deal with the too dark criticism, because I feel like that's easily something that could be chalked up to someone's preference, you know what I mean? Whereas pacing, it's like if people are saying your movie has bad pacing and it's got issues with that, then most people are going to say that too. A lot of other critics are going to say that, and it's harder to fix, I think. Whereas the dark movie is just the way it is. I mean, it's preference. You can't really fix anything with that. So it's how people perceive it. And honestly, if you like read all the stuff about Temple of Doom, I mean, he intended it to be a dark movie. He was going through a tough time in his life. So Steven Spielberg, I mean. And George Lucas, they were both going through divorces and stuff at the time. So yeah, I mean, it's understandable why it's so dark, and I know a lot of people say that it's very dark and mean-spirited and like has a lot of like, abuse towards kids and stuff like that, and like all that is bad, obviously. But I mean, you understand like within the context of the movie, that's like, it adds to uh the um the excitement of Indiana Jones triumphing over evil. You know what I mean? It really adds to the story. Well, as when you say, well, this movie is kind of slow because of pacing, and pacing issues and stuff like that. Well, that's there's nothing you can do about that. I mean, it's already too late. The movie's been edited and put in theaters, so it's kind of like, oh, well, I don't know.
No, I get that. That's excellent point. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Julie, how about you, my friend? In regards to if you were in a studio's position, right? Would you rather deal with the with hearing the fact that the film was too violent or too much, I'd say too dark, or would you rather deal with the concept of people saying that the pacing was off sometimes or a little expected, and why?
I'm actually my answer. I was thinking about it. It's pretty similar to Mikey's. I think. Because I agree. Like, I think I would rather they tell me it was too dark and too violent or whatever, because like Mikey was saying, like violence and darkness of a film or whatever, the darkness of it, or whatever, that's highly subjective. Like highly subjective based on your audience. And like I also feel like there's ways you can kind of pitch it to be like, well, whereas like he said, the pacing and the that's kind of a direct insult on your like your film, because like that's on either the writing or the acting or the directing, one of those three, if not all three. And that to me would be like a bigger insult, because they're like, oh man, like it just drags or it just blows, whatever. Like it. So yeah, I think that'd be my answer on that too.
No, totally. No, I get that. Excellent answer. Katie, you, my friend, the same position. You're a studio and you're dealing with some little bit of backlash here. Would you rather deal with the issue of the film being accused of being too dark and too violent, or dealing with the film being expected at times and the pacing being off, and why?
Yeah, I'm on the same page where I prefer the violence and the darkness, only because, similarly, pacing can be misconstrued as a quality issue. And I think about Inglourious Bastards, which wouldn't it be fun if this was all in the same universe? Like Harrison Ford's doing his own thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Like that'd be really cool.
I dig that.
But what do you hear about that movie? No one talks about how violent it is because it's kind of expected. It's in context, just like this is in context with what's going on. Like imagining Indiana Jones movies without violence would be really boring. But when you think about, say, with like Inglourious Bastards, no one talks about that. But you know what people do talk about? That bar scene and how slow it is. And that's what has transcended everything. So
I hate that I knew exactly what the heck you were talking about right when you said it. Sorry, go on.
So with that said, violence is, everyone's gonna whine about it. Yeah. But it, as long as it's tasteful, which it is, and crazy, we know the scene we're talking about. And I think it also has to do with like how many times have we seen someone's heart ripped out of their chest too. I think that's like, whoa, okay. Really cool special effect for the time too. But yeah, that's my long answer for violence wins.
Oh, please, no. We love long answers, please. Now here's the deal. I have to be a little separate here. The only reason why I've been thinking about this is just because I wanted to give a reasoning here. Now, being someone that loves like action films, I tend to be a big fan of a lot of cult followings too as well on some of the cult films. It's like things like Boondock Saints, stuff like Battle Royale, even being about a successful book. Now, being a fan with those things, I will say one thing makes me nervous. If I was a studio and I was in the United States or the UK, I could fight the violence issue like no other. However, if I was a studio and I'd say about a good 40% of the other countries internationally, violence may stub you on an occasion. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because Battle Royale, huge cult following. The book was successful for it, but it also has a huge huge call of censorship in a sense for that actual book. Just in regards to, they use the reasoning as violence. However, there was a lot of political stuff written behind it too, that countries didn't like people thinking for themselves, so that was highly motivated. But I guess to me, it would depend on what, like, where my demographic would be, dealing with. If I was dealing with the violence issue, like you guys, I believe in a country that says promoting free thinking and they look at a case by case situation. And at Katie, Julie, Mike, you guys said it just the timing, the use of it, the pacing of it, the story, the reasoning behind it. It doesn't really bother one when you're like, oh, this is the reason why. I'm not trying to justify this, but massive massacre. They want to go to bed. I mean, this is things that happen. So you get that, unfortunately, in a sense. But then I guess the only reason why I'd say I rather deal with the pacing in some different areas, just because, like, for example, I'm going to be the little advocate here. Snyder's cut for the Justice League. I digged it. I love the recut edited version. So I do think things can be edited and remade and so forth as well, maybe in post. Is it going to cost a lot of money? Yeah. Would I probably get fired afterwards because I wasted a ticket? Yeah. But sometimes I'm starting to wonder if I would lean towards that necessarily. Just dealing with the actual aspects of pacing, because I think that on an international level, it'd be less, worrisome to deal with than some countries' moral concepts or their current government standards. But anyway, let's get a little too, I digress. But all right, guys. So last but not least, when it comes to this here, in both films, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and The Last Crusade, would you suggest what film? Because I understand that we have the first one. That is a hard one to beat. But if you, as a fan of the film or as a viewer of the film, had to suggest which one would be better to watch if you can only watch one of the two, would you guys suggest Temple of Doom, or would you guys suggest The Last Crusade? Julie, I want to start with you, my friend.
I think just based on my ratings from earlier, I think I would send them to The Last Crusade. I mean, it seems like a weird one to start with, but like out of the two, like I said, I just feel like it's a little bit stronger.
No, exactly. If you were forced to do it,
what's that?
If you were forced to do it, I know it's a weird one to start with, but disregard the first one if you had to.
Yeah, I think it's a little stronger movie, and I also like Sean Connery. Like, you really can't go wrong, Like, I feel like they're gonna enjoy it regardless. So yeah.
Okay. Mike, you, my friend. If you have to choose, forgive the freaking subway in my mouth. Would you have to choose? Telling a person if they had to watch a film really quickly, would you suggest The Last Crusade or Temple of Doom?
I would say Temple of Doom. I feel like I'm answering everything Temple of Doom. I don't know why, but I think it's because it's chronologically, I think it's the first one of his adventures for the movies, at least.
It is, and I actually just figured this out. Like, I did not know that for a long time.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
what's it?
So Temple of Doom is actually a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
What?
Yeah. I just found this out. Like, my mind was blown too.
It takes place in the
30s. I just, that makes so much sense, but I didn't. What? I gotta watch it. Okay.
Yeah. So that actually came out. Well, I mean, it's obviously if you know it, it came out after the second one, but he wanted to do a prequel. Spielberg or Lucas, I can't remember which one, maybe both of them. They wanted to do a prequel because they didn't want to deal with Nazis again after the first one, and they wanted to like have an earlier adventure to kind of show how Indiana Jones like got to where he is. So, and that's why I would pick that one, because it shows. It's kind of like a kickoff to like his. I mean, obviously he had more adventures before that, but this is kind of his first big adventure on screen, at least. And so I would pick that one. Well, as like The Last Crusade, it's technically the last in it. I mean, obviously it's not, because he had two more other movies, but it was meant to be the last of the Indiana Jones stories. So I would, if I'm recommending it someone to start it, I would say Temple of Doom.
Okay, I like that. Right on. Katie. Once again, hypothetically saying the first one doesn't exist in a situation. Did you have something for me? Sorry. Okay. And a situation, if say that doesn't exist, would you suggest Temple of Doom or The Last Crusade? Do you have to, and why?
Same thing. It's Temple of Doom. It's a great way to establish him as a character, his background, but also what he's up against. Because I think while in The Last Crusade, you know, he's obviously put against a lot of things, but this is some scary stuff that, like, you know, he's in a cave most of the time, so there's no way to escape. So I think this is for character building purposes, I would suggest Temple of Doom 100%.
Right.
And then
on.
chronologically cool. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm still baffled not knowing that was a prequel. I mean, I understood that you know that that they didn't want to do Nazis again, but I didn't realize the reasoning of it and so forth as well. Well, excellent, thank you guys. But yeah, realistically speaking, I did do Temple of Doom as well. With our 3 with the one thing, but the reason being is just because the short round. I would say the short round interaction. I don't know if I mentioned this, but technically. Short round, the Temple of Doom was my first Indiana Jones film I saw. I didn't see Raiders of the Last Ark until last, and I actually saw it backwards. So that's why I kind of freaking out here, because it's like, oh, technically I saw the prequel in order how it worked, and which made a lot of sense to me because they made some references here and there that just kind of dawned on me here. That's fascinating. Now, with that being said, guys, we're getting a little running short of time here, so I want to make sure that everybody can reach you at your social, reach you folks at your socials here. So Julie, we'll start with you. Oh, wait, we have something. Okay, good. I apologize. I want to make sure I wasn't skipping some stuff here. So if we did skip comments, please let you know we didn't do it intentionally. We will get back to you as soon as possible. But that being said, here, Julie, where can we reach you on your social media account and or I would say social media addresses, my friend?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Raelyn, JRAELYN, and I'm also on TikTok at JRayLady, at JRAELADY. You can see some of my Indiana Jones style adventures. No, I'm just kidding, nothing that adventurous, but do go on adventures. Yeah, those are my main 2 that I go on, I think.
Excellent. Katie, where could we find you, my friend, on your socials?
Sure, I'm on Instagram at KTDWELL. And that's it. And by my name, Katie Tidwell on Facebook.
Excellent. And Mikey, my friend, where can we reach you on your socials?
You can catch me on Instagram and most socials under GripC47.
Right on. Excellent. So that's all the time we have talked today about Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade. Once again, shout out to my guests. You guys are fantastic. Always appreciate you guys, and always love working with new people. Shout out to you, my friend. Thank you again for tuning in. Be sure to join our Discord to keep the conversation going, as well as subscribing to all platforms at Nom Talk Network. I almost forgot by myself. You can find me here, or I am Cowie on Instagram and TikToks, where I do all my shenanigans. But once again, please make sure to tune in for our next show, which is going to be on the 26th. We're going to be talking about Doctor Who episodes 7 and 8, The Legend of Ruby Sunday and the Empire of Death. So that's really exciting too as well. Once again, guys, thank you for joining us. I hope you join us next time. Love, peace, chicories. Have a wonderful day.